Hey everyone, today is November 8th, 2025, and this is probably one of the last days we'll be driving around looking for blockages and doing inspections. Amazingly, this late in the month in Maine, we don't have any snow yet. Usually this area would get snow early November or would have got snow in the end of October, but there's been years we haven't got snow until the end of December. We actually had one year I actually enjoyed, and no matter what the weather does, we will find something interesting to do. I kind of hope for a year where it gets really, really cold, but we don't get snow until the end of December. The benefit of that would be the ponds and everything are going to freeze solid with clear ice. You're going to be able to see through. There's no snow anywhere, but everything's frozen solid. That'd be kind of cool to go camping and stuff like that. But if we get a lot of snow, that's fun too. If we get a lot of snow, it would be kind of cool if we got a good amount of snow before water freezes over. Then we could use the kayaks to go see awesome snowy scenery. I've never got to do that either, so whatever way we end up going with the weather, we'll find something to do. But just feel how bumpy some of these roads are. There's lots of potholes. Oh, here comes someone. Give him a wave. These roads are in very, very bad shape. That right there is why you stay on your side around corners. We've been raining a lot the past 2 months after a lot of drought, so a lot of the ponds are starting to fill back up. No flooding or anything. It's been gradual recovery from the drought. We're still in a moderate drought, but we're no longer in severe or extraordinary drought in some areas we had. Everything's going down. Hopefully next year we'll get a good rain year, but the drought really wasn't even that bad because it wasn't combined with hot weather. Nothing like the trees didn't really get affected by it. Like in the 2020 drought, the trees were literally dying because it was extremely hot above normal with no rain. This year, temperature was cool with no rain, so it really didn't have too much of a long-term effect. Going out to a few areas to inspect. Later on today, we're going to go by the logging intersection. In that area, we have to keep the CB radio on because they are logging that area, and you don't want to meet a really big truck around a corner. It might seem like I'm driving fast. I'm actually only doing 40, and this road's posted at 45. It only feels fast, I think, because of the bumps. But apparently this Toyota is impossible to kill. I bought it at $93,000. It's going to hit $400,000 this month. We've abused it on these roads since I've owned it. Probably a quarter of those miles are roads like this. Still has original shocks, original struts in the front. The shocks actually didn't go bad. They sheared off, so I had to replace those. And the new ones, aftermarket, are already making noise. But the factory everything from Toyota is always going to be the best. Sometimes I get comments saying that, oh, I should go ahead and buy American. I absolutely will never buy American just for the sake of buying American. Because I see American car manufacturers bragging in their commercials about, wow, it can go to 150,000 miles. Well, I've got a car that is about to hit 400,000. No lifter problems. It doesn't burn any oil. No metal shavings or anything. I just changed the oil like a day ago. Nothing wrong at all. Nothing. Once we hit 400,000, I'm going to do more preventative maintenance. I'll change the transmission fluid, transfer case, differential, four-wheel drive, everything is going to get its fluids changed. Most of those fluids I cannot do myself. It requires a computerized machine to measure it out perfectly. And the way you fill it, you just really can't do it. Even my mechanic can't do it. He said the dealer has to do the transmission fluids. But that might be one of the reasons why it's going so long. I've always stayed on top of that. I do the transmission fluid every 30 to 60 miles, whenever it's convenient. No shifting problems, nothing. As long as it's naturally aspirated. Most new American cars are not naturally aspirated anymore. Just some of the bigger trucks. Alright, hopefully this guy will pull over. Going really, really slow. Oh, look at this. This is one of our locations. Those are all my flags right there. They have just always refused to put that up. Okay, he's pulling over. Give him a wave. Oh, someone else is coming. I didn't see that car, so I'm gonna back up for a moment. Get out of that guy's way. Okay, now this guy just waved me around. Give him a wave. Thank you. Alrighty. What do we got up here? The speed limit has just changed on this road, down to 35. That's what it's saying on the map here. Makes sense. There's a good amount of curves. And these hills are going to get pretty dangerous when this stuff starts freezing over. This is the time of year I already am carrying tire chains. I don't have to use those often, but they're really good to have if you ever get stranded out here during a freezing rainstorm, or the heavy trucks just pack it so well that it's a skating rink. But usually when it gets to that extent, they'll be sending trucks out here spreading pretty large gravel over the ice to get good traction, because the logging company doesn't want to use tire chains either, because that means the truck's got to stay below 30 for safety, and they don't want to go slow. So they'll usually treat these roads with gravel. Okay, pull over again. It's a good amount of traffic out here today. Every single vehicle we're passing, I can tell, is a hunter. They all got the the orange hats either on their head or the dashboard. This road will pick back up to 45 once it starts straightening out again. But it's good. We got a little bit of drizzle, no dust, not enough rain to turn it to a mud pit, even with the heavier trucks. Not 100% sure if the heavy trucks are using this section, but the logging intersection, they got the heavy trucks going right now. I think these hunters are trying to salvage the last moments they have on these roads. I know the logging intersection is going to be 100% open this year in the winter for vehicles. They are plowing that because they're logging. They don't usually log that area in the winter, but they will this year. The past 4 years or so, that has not been plowed. Any unplowed dirt road in Maine is open. It's open to snowmobiles. There's thousands of miles of roads that they don't plow in Maine. It's all open to anyone who wants to bring their snowmobiles up to these areas. This road here, sometimes they plow it, sometimes they don't. It all depends on logging operations, and I think this road has actually wrapped up. So this road will probably be impassable until the spring. This week, like right now, the temperature, it was today in the lower 50s or around 11 Celsius. Now it's getting down near the lower 40s. It's 43 right now. That'd be about 6 Celsius. It's gonna get way below freezing tonight. And when it gets way below freezing tonight, it's gonna allow this drizzle to turn to snow. The forecast is calling for the next 5 days in a row, we're gonna get about an inch of snow every night. Really no big issue, but it can cause a slippery condition because they're not gonna plow that measly amount. It's just gonna get packed by vehicles' tires. So this area could become a mess. There's no big storms in the forecast, just a lot of a nuisance snow is what I call it. When you get a coating every single day. There was one time we must have got like a fraction of an inch every night for a month. It was so annoying because you got to go out and scrape off the vehicle and everything every morning. If it's gonna snow, I want it to snow a foot or two. I want substantial snow, not a nuisance snow. I love clearing deep, deep snow. And I want it to get really, really deep. Especially up in far Maine. Their snowpack can get sometimes so deep that it's actual snowpack where the bottom layers are so compressed you dig it out and you can actually carve blocks to make a real igloo. Central and southern Maine don't get that sort of snowpack usually. It happens, but it's not a yearly occurrence. Nope, they did not fix that road. The road we just drove by to the left washed out 2 years ago and it has yet to be fixed. They're not going to fix that until they actually have to log it, but that was a pretty interesting washout. Culvert up at the top of the hill got blocked, so it sent it all down the ditch that couldn't handle it, so it eroded like half of the road is just gone. Alright, this area of the road got a lot better. It's a lot smoother here. But just slow it down when you're approaching corners. You never know who's around them. Truck in that clearing to the left. Looks like, yep, looks like they just wrapped up logging. Those are some very fresh cut areas, but there's no equipment or anything around anymore. The longevity of my vehicle is just staying on top of maintenance, and if anything, doing things early than late. Okay, go slow around these corners. And I oftentimes will drive extremely fast, but I don't ever take off fast, and that saves the engine and transmission a lot. I'll brake hard all the time because of potholes and unexpected events, but I don't take off fast unless it's to avoid an accident. So that's another thing. I'll always take off slow. So I think that's a good thing too. Because the dealer told me that these engines and transmissions, I believe this car has the 2.7 4-cylinder, and the dealer said they usually break around 1/4 mil, but we hit that a long time ago, and I am definitely not treating this car like a normal person, and it's still going. I think it's just good maintenance. Like I even go underneath and where all the, if this is even the right word for it, the bushings that are covering like the CV joints and stuff, they supposedly pack enough grease in there for the life of the unit, but I don't know if I believe that or not. Maybe I do believe that, it being a Toyota, but you can buy syringes. You don't stick it through the rubber, but you stick it underneath the hose clamp holding the bushing together, and you can, with a grease syringe, you use a grease gun and you can just fill it up and pack it full as much grease as you can put in there. I do things like that too. That definitely helps out things like CV joints, always greasing the axles and slip joints, doing as much preventative maintenance as I can underneath, always greasing, always treating rubber parts so they don't dry rot. There's all kinds of things you can put on there to rehydrate. Like I personally use AT205, I believe it is, resealer. It's not meant for that purpose, but it works awesome for that purpose. Just lots of paranoid preventative maintenance is what I do. I've been told, go above and beyond with rust prevention. The underneath of this car still looks brand new. I've always sanded and painted it every year until this year I got tired of it and I oil undercoated everything. So everything under there, there's not a speck of rust. The only rust this car has is a little bit on the roof, and I believe that's from loading up random things and just scratching the paint off. But I can easily fix things like that. Look at this nice big puddle. How deep is this? Not too deep. I like driving through the water. How deep is this? Open up the door. Oh, the bottom of the car is definitely in it. But I've always been the type to just blast through puddles. The only reason I didn't blast through that at full throttle is because I washed this car the other day. I don't want to have to do it again, although I probably will have to do it again. But the oil treatment I use, I don't use fluid film. Doing stuff like I just did, fluid film supposedly would wash off considerably fast. Now, it's not like using old motor oil or something to treat the underneath of your car. When I drive through something like that, I'm not leaving all kinds of rainbows and stuff behind. It doesn't do that. It's not that type of oil. But I don't use things like fluid film. Up here in New England, every state has their own sort of oil. Like you can buy, it's literally labeled in O'Reilly as Massachusetts oil coating, Maine oil coating, New Hampshire oil coating, Vermont oil coating, and it's super thick. Like it literally, when you pour it out, it doesn't spread out like water. It keeps like a big blob of putty that slowly smooths out. It's very thick stuff. And I couldn't believe it. When I did my oil undercoating on my truck, I bought a electric paint sprayer from the Home Depot. It was like $50. And I filled it up with that thick grease. I couldn't believe it, but the reviews are right. You can spray it out of an electric paint sprayer all over everything. Just try to keep it off of rubber. That oil can deteriorate and make rubber shrink. I got some on the gaskets of my door, and yes, it makes them shrivel up and shrink. Absolutely. If you overspray anything onto pieces of rubber, make sure you get that stuff off. But first coating, you do it really thick, and then every year, or depending how much you drive, every 6 months, lightly apply as needed. That's what I'm going to continue doing with my vehicle. Any overspray, it's almost unavoidable. You're going to have a little bit of overspray on hot engine parts and the muffler. Even after weeks of driving my car, you still always smell a little bit of something. It smells like plastic getting hot, but I don't care. The initial time starting up, there's a little bit of white smoke, like it burning off the muffler, but no big deal. That's what I use. That's some preventative maintenance I do. Keep everything going nice. I thought I was going to say something else, but I forget. Good preventative maintenance. And usually things like shocks and struts break by hitting one massive bump. Like me driving all this stuff, it's never worn out anything. 400,000 miles, still have the original struts in the front. In fact, everything aftermarket is what seems to break right away. Nothing factory. Just stay away from the turbos. Those are what kills engines faster, trying to cram tons of power out of a smaller engine. You want naturally aspirated. It idles slower, less wear and tear. I wouldn't buy most of these new cars. Buy something that's been tried and tested for a decade and see how many people can actually get them to 250,000 miles before you actually go out and buy something. Like, I take great care of my vehicle, but as you see, I drive them hard. I just don't take off fast. I have driven like this for years. I only drove slow and babied the car when I first had it. I do consider this my first car. I did actually have a Chevy Silverado pickup truck that was 2002, but I don't consider that my first vehicle because I've literally only driven it a couple hundred feet. So I bought that really cheap years ago, It had a good amount of rust in the rear end. The engine was great. It had a couple 100,000 miles on it, but those older Chevy engines were great compared to a lot of the newer junk. But I bought it really cheap for like $1,500 because it had so much like rust damage, and my dad was going to teach me how to weld it and fix all that, but unfortunately my dad passed and I didn't want to take on that project, so I just gave it to a friend. He didn't want the truck, he wanted the engine out of it to swap, so I just let him do that. It was, yeah. I do trust the older American cars if I can manage to get them that aren't rusted out, but most of the new stuff, I just don't trust them after looking at reviews at how quickly a lot of these things break. It's a shame Toyota got rid of the V8 Tundra, because I would have loved to buy one of those. But I will probably get one of those aftermarket someday. I hope they bring that back, those better engines like that. Because the new, I think it's a double turbo V6 they now got in that truck. They're braking like crazy and they've only been out a couple years. Don't buy anything. Don't be the person to test things out like that. I think I'm gonna, you know, this car, I drive a lot, but this vehicle's actually never been down to the south like Florida. It's been down to Louisiana a couple times. It's been out to the West Coast. It's been to Manitoba once, Northern Ontario, which is 20 hours away, like 5 times. Been to Pennsylvania like half a dozen times. A bit further than Pennsylvania, like I've gone to West Virginia a couple times with this car. Between Maine and New Hampshire nearly twice a week for years. It's always been very reliable. I think I'm gonna try taking this thing down to Florida in January to visit my grandfather who likes to escape the winter. I should go visit him in the winter because I don't know how many more times I'll actually get to do that. He's about to be 90, but he's still hopeful. He wants to climb Mount Washington on his 90th birthday. He hasn't done hiking in a couple of years. He's been slowing down a bit, but he's always been a tough guy. Was in the military in the 50s. He built military aircraft engines until he was 65, where he had forced retirement. He was bored, he didn't want to retire. He got his CDL. He was a truck driver until he was 80, where the company he drove for gave him forced retirement at 80. He still didn't want to retire, so since 80 years old until now, he works for the National Forest Service as a part-time ranger, and he does all kinds of community service still. He wants to stay busy. He still drives across the United States like 5 times a year. He's always moving. He's not ready to slow down. Last year I was really concerned about him. I had to go down to Florida to see if he was all right because I heard he had an accident. He hit his head real hard and he had to have surgery. It was literally the size of a horseshoe that they had to cut open on the top of his head and peel it back. It's a miracle he survived. His hair actually grew back and everything, but he wasn't eating. He was like a skeleton. He got down to like 120 pounds, I believe. He was like a skeleton down there in the hospital in Florida. A few other relatives went to see him, but they only stayed a few days. I stayed down there a month with him, nearly every day, bringing him his favorite stuff like Wendy's, all different restaurants, Chinese food. Even if he got a bite, it was success in my head. I'd bring him like the 50-piece nuggets from Wendy's. He'd only eat like 1 or 2, and that's not enough to survive. So one of the doctors said, I want to put him on these pills to make him eat more. But then they switched his doctor. The new doctor and nurses refused to give him this pill to induce hunger. It's a marijuana pill to give him the munchies. And because it's Florida, Florida has laws against marijuana, and they treat it like a hardcore opioid. But I begged them for over a week, you need to give him this. He's not eating. And they finally gave in and gave it to him. I believe if I wasn't there, I was the only family member down there at the time pushing that. They finally gave it to him. Within a day, he was so hungry, he was eating and eating. He was refusing to eat the hospital food. He said, this is nasty, I don't want this. He also had what felt like Alzheimer's or dementia for a couple weeks, but he completely recovered. They said they couldn't even believe he survived the surgery. And here he is a year later driving across the country again. suspended his driver's license because he was acting like dementia for 6 months. But after only 1 month, he went to the DMV, took their cognitive test, and they gave it right back. He's still a better driver than most people I know at his age. Probably because he was on the road so long as a truck driver. Always traveling around. But he's completely back to normal, and it's nice to see him with an actual belly on him. So yeah, actually the medical marijuana, I actually think, saved his life. So he's completely back to normal. It's good to see him eating. Whenever he comes over to my house to visit, I ask him, hey, you want a burger? He says, yeah, just one, and I'll make him like 3. He always eats them all. So it's good to see him back with his eating like crazy, because that hospital is literally going to let him die instead of giving him those pills. But I guess it's a good thing I went down there, because I think without me begging that hospital to give him that stuff, I don't think he would have made it. But he's back on track, going back and forth all the time across the country, doing well. I'm happy to see that. I don't have many family members left that I trust or talk to, so good to have him still going back and forth, up north, up south like crazy. Okay, slow down. Narrow bridge. So yeah, I'll probably go down there and visit him in January for a couple of weeks. That'll be fun. I should bring a kayak just for the heck of it. I don't know if I'm gonna use it in the Everglades this year, but might as well have it in case I want it. Would be nice to go out to one of the islands. I would love to go to one of the islands in the Everglades. You can reserve your own private island for only $20 a night. They just recommend you don't go in the woods because of lots of snakes and spiders that can literally kill you. And they say the crocodiles on the beach, they don't want anything to do with you. And the stingrays in the water just drag your feet if you're gonna go out there, because if you step on them, they will also want to kill you. But the stingrays are actually very nice if you don't step on them. But yeah, that'd be nice to film alligators and stuff again. And because he's in better health this year, I'm going to try to convince him to go on a trip to the Everglades with me. No crazy hikes, just maybe do some of the boardwalks. According to him, he's never actually been in the Everglades. Even though he goes to Florida like twice a year for the past couple decades. Boom! But yeah, this car, I've hit the oil pan like a dozen times over the years at such speed that the car literally jumped. It never broke. Built tough. Now these days they make things like Nissans with plastic oil pans. Oh, I would have been stranded a dozen times over. I don't think I hit the oil pan there, but I'm just saying I have many times and I've never broke it. But just in case I do break it, I bring things to clean up the metal. I bring heat-proof silver tape, extra oil. I got all kinds of things for an emergency. I even bring a spray bottle with RV antifreeze in case I need to defrost something to work on it in extreme cold. We're always prepared out here on the logging roads. But you gotta drive fast on these logging roads because time is money. Sometimes you gotta get out to a work site that's 100 miles deep, and if you're crawling, it's gonna take you days. You gotta drive like this sometimes to get out here to these very, very remote places. Kaboom, ba-boom. These roads are fun, but I think this might be the last time we get to come out here before the snow and ice. It's gonna get really, really cold winter feeling like this week. Alright, I think I'm gonna end this vlog right here. I wanna listen to a little bit of music. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a fantastic day. Kaboom! Ba-ba-ba-boom!